Hello there, everyone, and a very happy new year to you all. Welcome to another edition of Starry Skies, the magazine programme that tells you all about what you can see in the night sky this month. I'm Mark Hardacre.
And I'm Steve Tonkin.
And today we're going to be talking about the stars and planets and other celestial delights for the month of January.
Yeah, if we can see any of it because of this ghastly weather we've been having, but...
What has happened? I mean, it is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's... Yeah, you put more energy into the atmosphere, which is what we've been doing. It warms up, it can hold more water, more cloud. The end.
Yeah, the end. I read somewhere that the last 18 months has been the worst for cloud and rain in the UK since records began in 1836. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
When this happened back in the early 2000s, we actually emigrated to get away from it for a bit.
It does worry you. Anyway, we'll try our best, all you lovely listeners, and see if we can highlight what you can see not only in January of this year, 2025, but also some of the highlights for the rest of the year. So we've got the solstice behind us at least, so at least the days are getting longer, nights are getting shorter.
Boo.
That means, though, I mean, at least for January, we still get 13 and a bit hours of
that's
night
good.
Sky,
that's good enough. It's just
yeah, astronomers, we do like this time of the year, don't we?
Yeah.
So what can we expect in 2025? Well, 3 eclipses to start with. That'll be quite interesting.
What's an eclipse?
An eclipse. Well, there's 2. There's a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. And the solar eclipse is when the moon passes in front of the sun, as seen from the Earth, taking a bite out of the moon, or if it's total, completely blanking the sun out. Oh, yeah. And the lunar eclipse?
Well, that's when the Earth casts a shadow into space, and it's when the moon moves through that shadow.
Right.
And which is a true eclipse.
Yeah.
The solar eclipse is actually an example of something else we're going to talk about, which is an occultation. It's when a body moves in front of another body.
That's it. Anyway, we've got 3 eclipses visible this year, so get your diaries out and make a note of these. You've got 2 eclipses in March and 1 in September. And Fordingbridge astronomers and our other sister clubs are going to be watching these. So the first will be a total eclipse of the moon, which is on Friday, the 14th of March. That's visible from the UK, and that's, as we said, when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow, but it happens really at a bit of an unsociable time, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
4 in the morning. So those that want to gather with us together to watch the moon turning a bright coppery colour, it starts at 4 in the morning and continues till moon sets, which is around 6 or 6:30, I think.
Yeah,
so
I think
not
for
the
that,
best.
I think for that one.
Shall we pass that one?
No, those are hard cases of us. Well, if it's a good clear night, we'll just stay up all night.
If it's clear.
It's clear,
again. Yeah. Then a fortnight later, and it often happens like this, Steve, that we have eclipses in pairs, a fortnight apart. A fortnight later, we'll see a partial solar eclipse, which is on Saturday, the 29th of March. And this is a nice one. This is mid-morning. I think it starts about 9 o'clock and goes on till about noon. So mid-eclipse, 10:30 in the morning, I think. That should be visible from all over UK, and we will definitely be out with our telescopes showing you the eclipse. You will not be able to look through telescopes, of course. We will project it for you, so you'll be able to see how the moon's progressing across the front of the sun. And the final eclipse of the year will be another lunar eclipse, which is on Sunday, the 7th of September. And that's when a totally eclipsed full moon will rise around 7:30 in the evening. And we'll definitely be watching that from Knowlton, probably, our observatory site here. And, and
possibly
nice
set up from other places as well. Because the nice thing about eclipses is if you can see them, they are memorable. And it's worth sometimes going out and doing a lot of outreach places and doing more than one site. There's enough of us, I think, now to be able to spread ourselves around a bit and share it with more people.
Yeah. So 3 eclipses for this year. What else is happening in 2025? Well, this will be the year that we lose the rings of Saturn. Wow.
Yeah, well, they're still there. It's just they're very, very thin.
How does that happen?
Edge on. Well, if you can imagine a plate at an angle going round your head, Sometimes you'll see, if it's at an angle, tilted, say, about 45 degrees. Sometimes you will see it as the bottom of the plate. When it's on the other side of you, you'll see it as the top of the plate. But when it's sort of halfway between, you'll see it edge on, and that's what's happening to the rings.
So
they'll edge on.
So there'll be edge on as seen from the Earth. And does that mean that even with large telescopes we won't be able to see them?
No, you will. But it'll just be like a little line across there,
right.
and not very bright either, because it's so thin in reality.
Right. So Saturn isn't really a great object during 2025. It won't be very bright, right?
No, it won't, because a lot of its light, normally does come from the reflection of the rings.
Right.
When this happened, back in the 17th century, after Galileo had seen it, he didn't realise that it was rings. Like there was two blobs, one either side of it, and then they disappeared, and Saturn was known as Kronos to the Greeks, and Galileo actually wrote down, "Has Kronos eaten his children?" Which is actually something that happened in Greek mythology. So,
but it also shows that Cassini and the like, they must have had really quite poor telescopes.
Oh, yeah. Compared to what even your cheap toy telescopes nowadays, what they had was not as good as those.
Yeah, so hats off to them for even discovering the rings of Saturn.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So then we've got Mars. Well, Mars actually will be at its best for 2025 now.
Yep.
So if you look out this week through the month of January, high up in the southeastern sky, there you will see brilliant Mars. It's at its brightest this month, I think on the 12th, isn't it?
It's brightest on the 12th, yes. Strictly speaking, we're all sort of lined up. So opposition, so when it's on the opposite side of us from the Sun, it's on the 16th. But because we've all got very elliptical orbits, and Mars in particular has a very elliptical orbit, we're actually closest to it on the 12th. So that makes it slightly brighter. You won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
So just any time in the first, any time in January, actually, just have a look at Mars. It'll be brilliant. And if you have a small telescope, you should be able to pick out one of its polar caps, its ice caps.
Yep. And it's certainly only for a few weeks is it large enough, close enough to us to be able to observe the disk. Yeah. Come February or March or April, Mars will be receding from us and growing ever fainter, and you won't be able to see the disks quite so clearly. So if you have a small telescope, go and have a look at Mars. And, of course, as it disappears and fades away, retreats from us, it disappears into the twilight skies in summer, and we won't see it again, in fact, until the autumn of 2026. That's until we catch up with it again on its orbit there. Next up is Venus. Wow. So there is a brilliant planet, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. It's so bright. Down the west. Round sunset, southwest, and it's unmissable.
Yeah,
and it will gradually be sinking into the sunset. So by March, it'll actually be very close to the sun and very difficult to observe, and then it'll come back as a morning star. So this was the evening star becoming the morning star. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's sometimes you think, oh, that's an aircraft low down in the sky. Oh, is it moving? Oh, no, it's not moving. Oh, it must be Venus.
Yeah.
Because it's so brilliant and so bright. Certainly for the month of January, you can't miss it after sunset. So look out for that. And then the other star or planet that you cannot miss during this time during January is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter has passed its opposition. That's, as Steve was just saying, when it's opposite the sun in the sky. It was at opposition on the 7th of December. But it's still very bright, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, and it will remain so as long as we can see it. I mean, Jupiter doesn't fade that much. Part of the reason for that is because it's such a great distance from us, the relative change in distance is very small.
Yeah.
So it remains pretty bright.
Yeah. And also it doesn't move as much. The reason that we see Venus and Mercury especially as first morning stars and then evening stars and then back to morning stars is that they are close to us, inside our orbit, and they move backwards and forwards very, very quickly in a matter of weeks and months, whereas Jupiter and the planets outside of the Earth in their orbits tend to move relatively slowly.
Indeed. Yeah.
So, we've probably got the best of Jupiter now through January, maybe into February, but eventually it disappears in 2025 into the twilight by May, and we won't see it again until August when it will reappear in the morning sky. This time in the constellation of Gemini. So at the end of 2025, again, it will be another brilliant star or brilliant planet high in the sky. What about Mercury, though? That's a tricky one.
It's always tricky because it's so close to the sun. We only ever see it in twilight.
Yeah.
So you've got to know where you're looking, and you've also got to be pretty careful, particularly if it's a morning apparition. But the best one this year is not. It's an evening one, which is great. So you can just wait until the sun's below the horizon, and you've got no chance of looking at the sun accidentally, and then you can hunt for Mercury.
Yeah, and that this year will be in March, which when it comes to our Starry Skies for March, we'll tell you all about that again. Early March will be a great time to see it. There's not many people have seen Mercury, Steve. How many times have you seen it? Not many, I guess.
I've seen it a few times, but I make a point of looking for it.
Yeah.
But, you take people like the great astronomer Copernicus, who revolutionized our understanding of how the solar system works. He never saw it.
Yeah. From his misty grey skies in Poland at the time. He was, but I would say, of people within Forest FM listening area, I don't think there'll be too many people that really have gone out to find it. It's quite tricky.
But come out with us and we will show it to you if it's clear.
That's it. Yeah. Great. So let's then look at January as a month. That's a summary of 2025. What else we got in 2025? How about we got some meteors, haven't we, for 2025? What about that?
We got some meteors right to start off with. 3rd of January.
Absolutely, nearly forgotten about that one.
The quadrantid meteor shower. They're pretty bright, very short peak. So 3rd, 4th of January, and worth looking out for. It's one of these ones that it doesn't seem so popular, and a lot of the reason for that is that it's cold. But it's and the nice thing is this year, because the moon is full in mid-month, early in the month when this is on, there's no moon in the sky to blot out the fainter ones, so you'll see many, many more.
So the 3rd of January is that Friday this week, or? Might be.
It should be, yes.
We'd check our calendars and we'd prepare. If we did this properly, Steve, we'd prepare. I think
we'd know what day what is. Yeah, 3rd is Friday.
We don't know what we're talking about.
And the 4th is Saturday, because that's also.
That's right. So go out on Friday night. If it's a clear night, and it looks like it might be actually, the long-range forecast says it might be clear. Go out on Friday night, say 9 or 10 at night. The plough will be rising high in the eastern sky, and just below it is where those meteors come from. Yeah. But don't look there.
No.
Look all around the sky. Look above you, look to the left and look to the right, and you should see about a meteor every minute or every 2.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. It's but just enjoy the ones you do see, and really, don't look. I know the papers always say, you should look where they're coming from. Don't, because the ones you see there coming straight towards you, they're very short trails. If you look away, I tend to look nearly at the zenith, just get a recliner, look above you, look high up, because that's where the atmosphere is thinner, it's where you'll see the fainter ones, and it's just really enjoyable. Yeah. Do it with friends, and you can have a competition so you can see the most.
Yeah. And that's... We also, as a club, Fording Bridge Astronomers, and our sister clubs, gather to look at meteors in the summer. It's obviously a lot warmer in August to see the Perseid meteors, and we'll do that again this year, although I think for 2025 we're not quite so lucky with the moon as we were last year. If you're watching a meteor shower, you really want it to be fairly dark and no moon. And if the full moon's out, it just drowns out these meteors. And I think for 2025 we're not in great shape for the Perseids. Yeah. But the quadrantids this week, have a look for them and let us know if you're successful. What else could happen in 2025? Of course, we could have comets, couldn't we?
We could have comets, unpredictable, but. Yeah. Well, some of them are predictable, but they're not very bright, the very predictable ones.
We had a nice little comet at the back end of 2024, but who knows what will come in 2025? We don't know.
Well, the other thing that's going to be happening this week is happening on Saturday, and that is something involving the planet Saturn.
Oh, that's right.
It's going to be, as I said, mentioned occultations earlier. It's when a body moves in front of another body and hides it. And on the 4th, at a very convenient time, starting just after 5:15 in the evening, so it'll be nice and dark, the moon is going to move in front of the planet Saturn.
And that is a sight to behold. And again, the Fordingbridge astronomers and our sister clubs will be looking out for that. If it's a clear night, we'll be gathering at our observatory site. Let us know if you're interested in joining. Come and see it with us. We'll see the planet slip behind the moon, I think around 5:30 in the evening, and it'll be there for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, 17:18, I think, is the time. It's a sort of number I remember.
Right.
So it's 18 minutes past. So just after 5:15.
And when does it emerge from the other side of the moon?
That I don't remember. But as you say, about an hour and a half later, yeah.
Font of all knowledge, mainly.
Except, yeah. The thing is...
It's about an hour and a bit, I think.
Yeah. The thing is, when it emerges... It's all going to be lower down the sky, so more difficult to observe. It's also coming out from the bright half of the moon, whereas it disappears behind the dark half.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's...
It doesn't happen very often. It's the moon moves around the Earth, as we all know, once a month, and occasionally it will pass in front of a bright star or planet, but actually it doesn't happen very often, to be fair.
No, the best ones are when it goes through one of the clusters we're going to talk about later, because then you get loads and loads and loads of these occulted stars, these stars getting hidden behind it.
Yeah, and that does happen this year. We do have an occultation of the moon passing in front of the Pleiades. We'll come to that in a little while.
Indeed.
Anyway, so during the month of January, we have the full moon on the 14th. So, again, for astronomers, not the best time. The best time to be looking is now, this week, and at the end of the month of January, because that's when the moon will be out of the way, or at least will be a crescent or half and not so blinding in the sky. And it's also a great month for the planets. As we said, we've got Venus in the west, Saturn just about visible in the west. Steve, are we just going to catch it, maybe?
We could catch it, and it's going to get very, very close to Saturn.
Yeah.
So I think their closest is going to be on the 18th of January.
Yeah.
So you've got the two coming together, and this close approach, called a conjunction, is one of the things that has been suggested might have been what the Star of Bethlehem was. We're looking back towards Christmas just gone, but yeah.
So we should say that might be an easy way then to find Saturn. If you can find Venus on that date, then you can find with binoculars or with a naked eye Saturn close by.
It'll be just below it,
right?
And moving one side to the other as we.
Yeah. So we've got Venus, we've got Saturn, we've Jupiter and Mars, which we've talked about. You can't miss them; they're visible with the naked eye, high in the sky, and Jupiter, of course, will be in the constellation of Taurus, which is Taurus the Bull, high in our southern sky, and that's our constellation of the month, Steve.
Yep. Yeah, there's some good stuff going on in Taurus. It's a really nice constellation.
Yeah. So tell us a little, why is it a bull? What's the whole idea of a bull, then?
Well, in mythology, I think everyone knows Orion the Hunter, and Orion was rather taken by one of these 7 sisters. There's actually 6 sisters and their mother, Merope, and she did not return his affection. But he, being the hunter, still pursued her. So they went to Zeus and said, "Look, help us. Save us from this horrible man who keeps chasing us." So he turned them into doves and threw them into the sky together. But Orion, being who he is, still pursued them. So what he did was he put a bull in between. So the bull protects the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, from the chasing hunter. And you can see this play out every night in January, if it's clear. Orion chasing the Pleiades across the sky with the bull in between, with its red angry eye, just warning Orion, don't come closer.
And it gives us a clue, Steve, doesn't it, as to how to find those objects.
Oh,
so
yes.
I think we can all find, if we look south in January, we can all find Orion.
Yeah.
Those beautiful 3 stars in a row that make up Orion's belt. If you follow that belt upwards, about 3 or 4 fingers length.
Yeah, it's about a handspan. If you hold your hand out in front of you and stretch it out, it's about a handspan.
We're both doing that in the studio.
Yeah.
Aren't we? We're both holding our fingers out. So it's about that distance. Can you say it? About that distance?
Yeah,
from the
very
belt,
good radio there.
From the belt upwards, you'll come to, as Steve was saying, the bright orangey, reddy, yellowy star Aldebaran, which means the eye of the bull. And if you extend that line further, about half that distance, you'll see the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades, shielded from Orion by the bull.
So, also known as Subaru.
Right.
The Subaru logo on cars. Other vehicles are available, but has the 6 brightest stars in this logo.
Great. So, Taurus, constellation of the month. There you've got Aldebaran, you've got the Seven Sisters. What else we got? We got the Hyades. What are the Hyades?
Well, the Hyades are the April rainers, would you believe? And those on Green Grow, the rushes, 8 for the April rainers. And they are a V shape of stars. It'll be on its side, and Aldebaran is at one of the tips of the V. And this is a big open cluster as well.
Yep.
Lovely again in binoculars, easy to see. And the reason it's called the April rainers, it gets lower and lower into the west as the year progresses. And in April, you can just see it. It just disappears into the twilight. And it's called the heliacal setting. And that was the time, of course, April showers. So,
Yep, so that's it. But you will see it in the sky as a V, with Aldebaran as the tip of one of the Vs. And if you look with a pair of binoculars, there's a very beautiful double star in the Hyades.
Oh, yes.
Very, very nice indeed. So just have a look with your binoculars. What else we got there? Well, we have one of really the most famous objects in the sky, the so-called Crab Nebula. And if you went, how can we best show where the Crab Nebula is? It will be on our star chart. We put a star chart on Forest FM website, as well as our Fording Bridge and Sister Astronomy websites as well for this month. And just at the tip of the horn, the southern horn of Taurus, there you'll find a tiny little misty patch. It's in binoculars, it's just about visible. Decent-sized telescope will show it as a misty patch. A larger telescope will even start to show some structure. And this object is the remnant of a supernova.
Indeed.
When did it blow up, Steve?
1054.
1054. So just before William the Conqueror arrived, we didn't see it. Everybody saw it here, but it was noted by the Chinese. In their records, which were much better than ours, of course, went back to 1000 AD and before that, and they recognised this star, that brilliant star that exploded in Taurus, disappeared after several weeks, was not even seen again for decades and centuries, and was discovered in the 1700s, I think, as a tiny little patch. And astronomers thought, well, what could that be? We figured out it's the remnants of the star that blew up in 1054.
Yes, the Chinese called it a guest star.
Yeah.
Because it was this star that arrived, it was bright, could even be seen during the day, and then like any good guest, as we all recognise at Christmas time of year, it left again.
It's time to go, yeah.
Yeah.
So it slowly faded away over several weeks and months.
Yeah.
And leaving us a little patch. And that patch is growing every year. The remnants, the outer atmosphere of the star that exploded is growing and spreading. We can't see it from year to year, but over the centuries, it has got bigger and bigger. And it's a nice little object. It was the first object to be classified by our good friend Charles Messier. We talk about him often on this show. And it's Messier 1 in Taurus.
Yep.
Yeah, lovely. So what else we got in Taurus?
Well, there's lots and lots of little open clusters.
Yeah.
And it's just worth scanning around and seeing with things are. They look initially in binoculars like little misty patches, and then you find, actually there's a few stars there. And that's these young clusters of stars that eventually spread out. And it's just the ones that we see brighter, the Hyades and the Pleiades, are just much closer to us than some of the others. There's also, and you can make little patterns of stars. They're called asterisms. We'll put it on the Forest FM webpage on the chart. There's a lovely little asterism, looks just like the points of a little dog. It's Davis's dog, named after an American astronomer called Davis, who first discovered the thing, or first described it. Everyone's seen the stars for ages before that, but yeah, it's a nice little bit.
And dear listeners, Steve, of all people, he loves his asterisms. He loves, as a binocular. We call him Dr. Binocular or actually Professor Binocular these days, because he's a real expert in binoculars and finding your way around the sky with binoculars. And some of these little asterisms you can find in binoculars are truly delightful. Have a look for that one. That's Davis's dog, and we'll post it on the Forest FM website.
But don't stop there. See if you can find your own little pattern. And, have one named after yourself. People are still doing it.
Yes, indeed they are. Oh, dear, it's fun, isn't it? Astronomy is such a great hobby, Come and join us. It's great fun. And if you do want to join us and find out more about astronomy, then contact your local astronomical society or club. We are 3 here in the listening area. We've got Fordingbridge Astronomers. We meet every 3rd Wednesday in the month at the Elm Tree in Hightown, and beginners and people who have got no idea about astronomy at all are most welcome. At least come and have a pint with us.
Yeah.
Other drinks are available.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything about astronomy, and you don't need your own telescope.
Absolutely.
If you're coming, in fact, don't buy your telescope if you don't have one until you've spoken to us about it.
Yeah, that's a real good tip. There are so many Christmas presents. I bet there's been thousands delivered into our listening area this Christmas for children that'll end up in the loft. We don't want that. We want them all to be used, and we want them to be used properly, gazing at the right things in the sky. So Fordingbridge Astronomers, come and see us 3rd Wednesday in the month up in the Elm Tree. Then we have Wessex Astronomical Society. They meet at the Allendale Centre in Wimborne on the 1st Tuesday of every month. And then we have Cranbourne Chase Astronomy Club. They meet just outside our listening area up in Shaftesbury on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, and they meet at the Grosvenor Hotel. All these clubs are great to join. We're not all geeks. We're not all Patrick Moores. We're all fun people. We do love a drink too and a bit of fun. And we love to take people out, show you the stars, show you how to use your telescope. If you don't know, you're a bit unsure as to what to do with your telescope, come along and see us. All 3 clubs welcome new members. And as Steve said, we don't need any expensive kit, do we?
No.
Absolutely not.
None at all.
So we would like to wish you a very happy New Year, and look forward to joining you at the beginning of every month through the rest of the year. So it's goodbye from me, Mark Hardacre.
And from me, Steve Tonkin.
And we'll see you hopefully under clear skies
Yay!
in 2025.
Yep.
Thanks very much.